Apple's Magic Keyboard for the iPad Pro is here, but there are still a lot of unanswered questions surrounding it, like why is there no top row of function keys? Why the new floating iPad design? Why does it weigh so much? Why does it cost $300 to $350? And why would anyone actually pay that much for it? So in this video, I'm gonna break down everything that I know about how to best use the Magic Keyboard, as well as what I think about the quality of the materials, the keys, and the trackpad. And finally, I'm gonna explain why I think this is Apple's master plan for the iPad Pro. Just from the unboxing experience, we can tell that Apple is focusing on this product being very simple to use. And it shows because all you have to do to set it up is place your iPad Pro close to the case, and it magnetically snaps into place. And before you can even bring your hands down to the keyboard, it's already connected. And same with the trackpad. The cursor shows up instantly. It does this by using the smart connector, which gives a hardwired connection between the keyboard and the iPad, which provides power for the keys and trackpad to work reliably without any lag at all, not having to rely on a Bluetooth connection and not requiring batteries that need to be recharged. And that's just one of the things that sets this Magic Keyboard apart from the other options, because this is the one and only case with a trackpad that uses a smart connector for the iPad Pro. What's great is that it also supplies power for the keyboard backlighting, which the old Smart Keyboard Folio didn't have. And it gets even better since it actually turns on automatically as it gets dark in your room, because it takes data from your iPad's ambient light sensor that's used for the display's auto brightness. And if you want to turn it on manually, there's a backlighting brightness slider within the hardware keyboard options in the settings. Now, one question that people have is, does the keyboard case with the backlighting cause your battery to drain quicker? Well, since the lights are LEDs, they take very low power, and the keyboard and trackpad take barely any power at all. One feature that you literally cannot get on any other keyboard case for the iPad is the USB-C port that's built into the hinge that can actually charge your iPad Pro through the smart connector, which in turn frees up the original port on the iPad Pro for things like hooking up a storage device. Now let's talk about that hinge. The back of the case has two portions, the bottom, which snaps into place as you open it, and the top, which can be used to adjust angles. And this means that your iPad Pro floats in the air, which has a couple of benefits. First of all, Apple wants the iPad to remain a touch-first device, so the floating design keeps the iPad conveniently closer to you. And the second benefit is that at any time, you can simply lift the iPad Pro off of the case to use it as a tablet. And because the case uses the smart connector, the keyboard instantly disconnects, which doesn't happen with Bluetooth keyboards, which force you to turn them off in order to use the on-screen keyboard. A lot of people complain that you can't fold the case back and use it in tablet mode, but that's the whole point of this floating design, so you don't have to deal with the extra weight or trying to pry the iPad from the case. You simply lift it off with one hand. And then, when you're done with tablet mode, just put it back on the case and you're instantly back to laptop mode. And when you're finished, it's easier than ever to use one hand to fold it down and take it with you. And as far as adjustability of the angles, I found it was perfectly fine 99% of the time for when you're using it as a laptop. Now, there's no doubt that this keyboard case is heavy, and Apple did that on purpose because if they didn't, it would be extremely top heavy and this would cause it to easily tip over. But with the extra weight, you get a really solid and sturdy solution. And what's great about the magnetic connection is that it's so strong that there's no way that the iPad Pro will fall out unless you're intentionally trying to budget. As for the materials, they're using the same polyurethane rubbery finish, which I personally don't really like since it smudges very easily. But if they chose a different finish, it could have been even more heavy. And as for cleaning it, Apple recommends simply using a soft, slightly damp, lint-free cloth. Don't use any chemicals. Now let's move on to the keyboard. Apple says it uses the same scissor switch keys as their MacBook keyboards, and it's true. These keys feel so much better than the Smart Keyboard Folio that the keys alone are worth it for those who do a lot of typing. And I'd say that these keys are better than on any other keyboard case, like even the Bridge Pro. My favorite thing about the keyboard is that it supports the same shortcuts that you get on a MacBook, and if you're unsure about which shortcuts are supported, simply hold down the command button within any app to see the full list of shortcuts for that app. And my favorite shortcut is Command plus Tab, which cycles through all of your apps, letting you press Q to close an app or let go of Command to enter into the selected app. Now, the main issue that people have is the lack of a top row of function keys. So why didn't Apple add this? Well, I myself only use the brightness and volume controls on my work iMac's keyboard, and that would have been incredibly useful on the Magic Keyboard, but I know that there are people who use other keys, like media controls, for pausing and skipping tracks. I think the reason Apple didn't add this is, first of all, they've never added it on any of their keyboard cases before, and there honestly isn't much room for it on the keyboard itself, since they already had to squeeze down the trackpad size in order for even the number keys to fit properly without being hidden underneath the floating iPad. And as for there not being an escape key, you can actually go into the Settings app, then General, Keyboard, Hardware Keyboard, Modifier keys, and you can actually switch the caps lock key to function as an escape key. But I'd say that you don't really need that escape key, since the trackpad gesture support is so good that it'll be quicker to use that instead. For example, while watching a YouTube video, just pinch with 2 fingers to exit full screen mode. And you can also swipe up with 3 fingers to get to the home screen, or swipe up and stop to get to the app switcher. As far as the quality of the trackpad, I can tell you that you will never find a better trackpad on any other keyboard case out there. It's actually made out of a single pane of glass, which is the material Apple uses for their excellent MacBook trackpads. With a plastic trackpad, like on the Logitech Combo Touch, it isn't as smooth of an experience, especially if your finger isn't completely dry. And on that trackpad, it uses a diving board design, meaning that the top of the trackpad is incredibly hard to click, while the bottom is very easy. With the trackpad on the Magic Keyboard case, you get a really unique design where the clicking pressure is even no matter where you click. And the best part is that you can go into the trackpad settings within the general menu and enable tap to click, which makes using a trackpad 1,000 times better. And my favorite option within those settings is 2-finger secondary click, which lets you instantly right-click by tapping with 2 fingers. And then on top of that, you can go into the accessibility settings, then pointer controls to customize basically everything about how the trackpad works, like disabling the annoying trackpad inertia setting, which leads to inaccuracy, and also disabling the pointer animations so your cursor won't morph into buttons anymore. So as far as the overall keyboard and trackpad experience, you literally can't beat it on any other keyboard case. And that's one of the reasons why Apple priced it so high. So let's answer that question. Why else would Apple price it at $300 to $350? Well, the way I see it is that Apple wants to start a trend. Just look at the original AirPods, for example. When they were released, they were ridiculously expensive, but despite all of that, they were wildly successful, and the entire earbud industry followed in Apple's footsteps. They succeeded because 1, they added incredible amounts of functionality and reliability that made them just work so well. 2, the design was totally unique and it acted as a symbol for the Apple brand. And 3, they were more expensive than expected, so it created a sense of exclusivity that started all of those broke memes, which actually made the AirPods sell even better. And if you think about it, the Magic Keyboard case adds so much more functionality than any other keyboard case. And the smart connector makes it the most reliable option as well. The new floating design is original and incredibly unique. So if you see a floating tablet, you know it's an iPad Pro, so it acts as a symbol of the Apple brand. And finally, the price is expensive, so it gives consumers a really special feeling to own this keyboard case, just like it did with the original AirPods. And there you have it, that's Apple's master plan for the iPad Pro. They want this Magic Keyboard case to become successful and act as a symbol for the Apple brand to push the entire industry forward. And if you think about it, they've been planning for this keyboard for years. We know this because on the 2018 iPad Pro, the smart connector was not only relocated, but they made it quite a bit larger than before, and it wasn't really being used for anything until now. That larger smart connector was actually designed to support pass-through charging, which we finally got with the Magic Keyboard case. And that larger connector is why the 2018 model also supports this case, and not only the new 2020 iPad Pro. What this ultimately shows us is that Apple has been planning for this moment for years, and that's also why they've slowly increased the price of the iPad Pro, so that together with this Magic Keyboard case, it would cost around the same as one of their entry-level MacBooks. So whichever one you end up buying for your computing needs, Apple is still making the same amount of revenue. And that is the final piece of Apple's master plan for the iPad Pro. If you enjoyed this video, tap the like button and click the circle above so you don't miss out on our full review of this keyboard case coming soon. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.